Hey y'all, the teacher here. Let's talk about the other pieces of your offer. There's earnest money. Right after a seller accepts your offer, you'll need to put down some money to show that your offer is serious or in earnest. Once they've accepted your offer, you're under contract and they couldn't accept an offer from somebody else even if they offered them twice as much money. Their house is now off the market and you'll be closing on it soon. Now, if you just didn't show up on closing day, they would get to keep your earnest money. That's what protects sellers from being messed with and just have their house taken off the market for a month. Typically, earnest money is about 1%. Anything less than that, and they might wonder if you're really that financially qualified of a buyer. And anything more might be one of the little things that makes them more likely to accept your offer because it shows you're really serious. Next is the due diligence time period. After we were in the house and you spent time looking around and decided that you want it, we get it under contract, you have a period to send a professional home inspector in to crawl around for 2 or 3 hours and find out every little thing that's wrong with it. Then if there's too many problems that you couldn't discover before, you can actually back out of the contract and get your earnest money back. You'd still have to have paid the inspector, but that's all that you are out during the process, and we'll go look for a different house. Now typically that is about 7 days, right? Anything longer than that, and again, the seller may wonder if you're a serious buyer or not. Anything shorter, you might not have time to get it done. Next is the closing attorney. The closing attorney or the title company will do all the legal paperwork to make sure that the transaction is done legally and completely and all the paperwork's in order. Typically the buyer gets to choose, and if you don't know one, of course, I'll suggest one. Sometimes the seller will only accept certain closing attorneys, and we'll get one in there that is affordable and who's going to make sure everything is done legally and properly. Next is the financing contingency. Okay? You have a pre-approval letter from the bank, but you don't have the money yet. So your offer is contingent on your financing going all the way through. If you were to lose your job or the bank discovers you have an IRS lien that you never mentioned to them, they're not going to fund your loan anymore. So the time period of your financial contingency is how long you have to wrap up going through underwriting and getting your loan fully approved. If you lose your financing before this time period, you could get your earnest money back and would cancel the contract. But if something happens late in the process after your financing contingency, you would actually lose your earnest money. So I want to get you as much time as possible in this contingency period. I like to go for 21 days to protect you for as long as possible. Sometimes the seller will push for a lower date, again, especially if it's competitive, so that you have your ducks in a row from the beginning. Next is the appraisal contingency. Okay, the bank is only going to loan you as much as it appraises for, so your offer is contingent upon an appraisal at the amount that the purchase price that the buyer and seller have agreed on. So what happens if it doesn't appraise? One of 3 things. First, the seller could lower the price to the appraised amount. You're still under contract, and we just move forward with a new lower price. Or they could refuse to lower the price, and then you can back out. Right? You'll get your earnest money back, and we'll go looking for a different house. Or they could refuse to lower the price, and the bank won't loan you any more than the appraisal amount, so you could make up the difference. So whichever ends up happening there, during this appraisal period, I like to go for 21 days to give enough time for the appraisal to happen, and hopefully it appraises and we move forward just fine from there. Next is the seller's disclosure. The seller is legally obligated to tell you everything that might be wrong with the house, right? They can't just hide things and say that you can have an inspection and rely upon that. So this is the document where anything that they know about that is wrong with the house where they're obligated to tell you or disclose those items about the house. And last is the community association disclosure. This is where the seller tells you about the HOA and what it provides and how much the dues are, and if there's any fees to sign up, like initiation fees with an HOA. Click the button at newhousetracker.com. Let's meet and get you from questions to keys.